All right, AJ. Our next story. We continue with the fun. This
Bring it.
came out of nowhere, and it made me oh so happy. AJ, a cult favorite movie for a lot of people, and for us here at the Silver Screen Dudes, The Crow, is finally being rebooted. Now, I say finally because you got to remember one thing, AJ. This movie has been through so many. It's coming. The reboot's on its way. There was a point where Joseph Gordon-Levitt was meant to be playing the Crow. There was a point where Jason Momoa was going to be the Crow. Like, there was a point where Keanu Reeves was going to be the Crow. This has gone through so many. It's alive and it's dead. It's coming. Now it's not. But it seems we're actually there. And look, here's the full story from Deadline, who are one of the reliable outlets. The Crow reboot with Bill Skarsgard and FKA Twigs flies to Lionsgate in 8-figure domestic deal. This comes from Toronto. Exclusive. Lionsgate has just tied up an 8-figure deal for domestic rights to the Crow reboot. Bill Skarsgard, he of It fame, singer-songwriter FKA Twigs' Honey Boy, and Danny Houston from Succession lead Rupert Sanders. And Rupert Sanders is noted for doing Snow White and the Huntsman, so not a very good movie, but leading Rupert Sanders' reimagining of the 1994 cult classic that memorably starred Brandon Lee in his last film role. So, in the original revenge thriller, a man who is brutally murdered comes back to life as an undead avenger, or Sting, of his and his fiance's deaths. Both movies are based on the graphic novel of the Gothic character created, written, and illustrated by James Barr. CAA Media Finance handled the deal for the film's domestic rights. John Biondo oversaw on behalf of Lionsgate, with the pact finalized last Wednesday night at the Toronto International Film Festival, and market gets underway. The movie is expected to release next year. The script for the reboot comes from Oscar nominee Zach Bryan, he of King Richard fame. That's encouraging. And Will Snyder, also starring Laura Byrne from Foundation, Sammy Buagilla from A Son, and Jordan Bolger from The Woman King. The Crow is produced by Victoria we've got a lot of producers' names here, so I'm not going to go through all of that. But yeah, AJ, it seems like it's you can believe it, it's happening. And we're getting it next year. So I'm going to make this really simple. Do you believe this? Are we finally after? I mean, this has been Black Adam length of waiting to get this movie. Do you think this is going to happen? And do you think people care?
So if it's not, there's a lot of people linked to it. That would be like a lot of like retconning. You've got into producers, actors, and everything. So I feel like it will come along. Do I think it's going to be, I don't want to say good. I'm just apprehensive. I feel like The Crow lives off of the legacy of, here's the thing, and I say it respectfully, Brendan Lee wasn't exactly the world's most sought after actor, but it was the cult and the status behind it. Oh my God, Bruce Lee's son has died in this horrific accident filming this film, and that helped the cult status of it. And I'm not saying The Crow's a bad movie, but it has this kind of, it has this weird reason behind watching it. It's not, I don't want to call it morbid sense of watching it, but you feel like, oh, you're doing it to honor the guy, and then it's like, okay, it's actually a decent movie, and it stays there in its cult status. Now to reboot this film, I feel like it's a bit of an injustice, and I don't know how people will appreciate it. So I don't know how it will work for those who are open to The Crow to watch it again, and if they will appreciate it. And there's others who are going to be like, well, no, The Crow's legacy remains the way it was. I mean, Crow 2 in itself was not something to write home about. So I'm kind of happy, but also very apprehensive, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I'm very torn as well, because you're telling me that the director of Snow White and the Huntsman is going to helm this. Warning. But then you're telling me that the writer of King Richard is penning this. Yeah, see, now I'm confident, because that was a good film, in my opinion. I enjoyed King Richard. Bill Skarsgård as the Crow? Great bit of casting right there. That works for me. Not who I would have thought of, but now you're telling me that's the case. Yeah, I'm game for that. The Crow is a cult movie. It never had a massive following. So they've got to tread very carefully here and make sure that this is made on a low budget and that it does kind of John Wick level marketing, impactful, but not high cost. And it should find an audience. But, just look, taking the John Wick movies as an example, those have never made huge amounts of money. Those are literally the modern day cult movies. They have an audience and it's getting bigger, but they've never crossed $1 billion. The John Wick is not $1 billion franchise per movie. In total, it is. But if The Crow does something similar to that, whereby it just gets its teeth in and word of mouth spreads, and it's made for a minimalist budget like the original was, you could have something special here. I'm excited for it. Let's just see what happens with this one. Anything you want to add?
Look, casting wise, it looks perfect. It's the legacy of The Crow that I feel is the awkward selling point for it. But hey, here's hoping.
It's hoping indeed. Let's put it over to you guys. Are you excited for this Crow reboot? And are you a fan of the original? Let us know down below. Please leave your thoughts and your comments. And do be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already.